What's up, everybody? Tyler Rogan with Power Wash Academy. Believe it or not, today we're washing the house again. Now this is a little bit more of a unique situation. The house has just been sold. The previous homeowner has made a deal with the home buyer that they're gonna have us come out and touch up a few things for them. So that's what we're here to do today. We've got a white stone home, beautiful place. The main concern on the house itself is a lot of dirt dauber nests. And we've got quite a few barn swallows, which also make a clay nest. And so we're gonna just be using pressurized water to get those cleaned off. Relatively easy work. The house was washed not too long ago, and so they've got most of the algae taken care of on the home itself. We do have a lot of other areas of the home that didn't get cleaned that we're going to take care of for them today. We are going to be cleaning this garage area. Spiders and bird nests are our main concern there. We do have a back patio area with a stone border and fireplace that will need some attention, and we're gonna go ahead and treat that with some house wash mix. But today we're actually not gonna be using our big soft wash system. With the location of the areas we're cleaning and the amount of cleaning we're gonna need to be doing, opted to use a small sprayer to apply our house wash mix. So that should still be relatively quick going, and we'll get out here. I'll walk you around and kind of show you what all that we're looking at and give you an idea of how I did my initial walkthrough to give the customer a price on cleaning this one. The main problem areas on this home are going to be up in the peaks. Those are a favorite spot for bugs and animals to make their nest. It's kind of tucked up and out of the way. Good spot out of the wind for them to stay. And this house was sealed after it was cleaned the last time. And so really the algae growth shouldn't come back quite as quick on this, but all the areas in the backyard that I'm gonna show you in just a minute, they have not been treated. And so that's what we're here for today. So this area here did have a bird nest that's already come down, but as you can see, we still got a lot of mud left behind, and just touching up the little nooks and crannies around here will go a long way. Let's check out this backyard. So now that I'm on this side of the house, I'll go ahead and let you know, we're out here in hill country. As you can see behind me, there's a lot of windmills, and they put them out here because the wind blows a lot. So bear with me if I've got some wind noise in my mic. I'm doing the best with what I've got, but I did want to go ahead and still make this video, although it's windy out here, because we want to show you what we're working with. Okay, so we've got, these are the stone areas that I was telling you that have a lot of buildup on them. I've got a technician out here doing a little pre-rinse beforehand to knock off some of the bulk, the thicker growth off of the surface, so that we'll be more effective when we're coming back with our house wash mix. Hopefully you're gonna only need to apply once or twice to get these areas into the condition that we want them to be. And so let's take a stroll down this way. All right. And Urban's using a dual lance wand. We do have a pressure tip on the gun at this point, and that's gonna give us a little more pressure than a soft wash tip when we use it in conjunction with the dual lance wand. He's got that top valve open, so we're dropping our pressure down. He's probably running around, with 300 foot of hose, we're probably running about 800 PSI on that, which I think is still fairly safe to use on this kind of stone. If we see any cracks in the mortar or chipping rock, then we'll back off there and not apply so much more pressure. We may have to treat it a couple more times with our house wash mix, but that's okay. So here's the fireplace area I was telling you about. Pretty much the same condition as this stone wall. We're gonna use a relatively strong batch on this to clean it, since we are gonna be using a hand sprayer. We're gonna go half and half. So we're running about 6% sodium hypochlorite in our mix. We are gonna put a little surfactant in there. So we'll be using, today we're gonna be using apple blossom. So Being that we only use a little bit in a hand sprayer, you won't actually see the dye of the apple blossom, but the main reason I'm using that is to use it for its surfactant qualities. So we're gonna spray it on there, help it cling and not run off as quickly, not dry up as fast. So being that we've got a lot of wind, that's gonna cause stone to dry out sooner than if it were a calm day. And so that's the reason that I'm adding a surfactant in here instead of just going with water and sodium hypochlorite. We got some black steps going down here. I would love to have watched this whole thing if the whole thing was covered in algae. It's a beautiful home. So we've got this little picnic table over here. It's got some gray algae growth on there, and it's actually got the thicker stuff that starts to build up after the growth progresses. And so we're dealing with this orange buildup, and it's really dry and comes off relatively easy. And so the bulk of that will come off with a pre-rinse with our pressure washer, and we'll give it a good soaking, and we'll rinse this whole area down. Same thing goes pretty much for all of it. Quick rinse, and then we'll soak it. You can stretch your chemical out by soaking all this stone beforehand, and you're gonna be applying to a somewhat wet or damp surface, and so the evaporation process has already started to take place with just the water that was there initially, and that way when we come back through with our house wash mix, it's not ready to evaporate immediately. So that is the best way for me to apply my chemical and make the most of what I've got in my mix, as far as not having to make more and more and more because we're spraying onto a dry stone and evaporating off of there. I've gone through, pre-inspected my backpack sprayer, pressurized it, and we're all good to go. We have been maintaining it with our PM bleach neutralizer, so it still seems to be holding up pretty well. And so I'm just gonna go ahead, start applying my chems here and wait for the magic to take place. A good bit of it, probably 80% of the discoloration came off with our initial rinse, so that's really good for me. Hoping that we get a relatively quick color change out of this. And this rough stone will absorb a lot more of your chemicals, so some of the time I've really got to get on top of it and spray it for a little more time than I would normally, because all of these little cracks and holes in the stone will absorb that sodium hypochlorite mix and will allow it to dry up a little bit quicker if I don't fully saturate it. Okay, so this area hasn't been pre-rinsed yet, but I do want to do a small section of it with this house wash mix to determine how much benefit we're getting out of the pre-rinse. If I see it's changing colors and it doesn't really need it, then I'll switch over to just applying this, but some of the spots are so thick, I'm almost certain that coming through first and kicking some of that growth off of the top with a little bit of pressure is gonna be beneficial for us. Oh yeah, it's brightening up well. The only spots that are not the way that I want them to be right now, every bit of this stone that we've sprayed pretty much has changed to the color that I wanted to as far as the gray goes, but these little bits of green and a couple spots that have this yellow on there, they'll benefit from a little bit of agitation with the pressure washer. But yeah, that's coming out nicely. It's looking so much better. Not a lot of time invested. Typically I'll bid these jobs, or most jobs I'll bid them for maybe not necessarily a worst case scenario, but I always factor in more time than it would ideally take to wash the house, because your reaction from your house wash mix is not always going to be consistent. Some types of surfaces, some types of algae, they'll react differently, and just once you think you've got it down and you can guess these perfectly every time, you'll get one and end up spending more time on a job and you've already thrown out that lower number, and now you're giving away a few hours of work for free. So something to keep in mind. Or if you want to come out and do a test spot, which is definitely suggested, come out and do a test spot and see how fast everything reacts, so you can get a better idea of how much time it's going to take you for the whole thing. All right, this is awesome. Looks like one application is all it's going to take to get this thing cleaned up right, so that's great. Less chemical, less time. I might even get to eat lunch today. We probably could have gone a little lighter on the mix, but we're using so little on this job that it would be a small improvement on our cost for this job. But like I say, it's only going to be a matter of a few bucks, and it's working beautifully, working quickly. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with this half and half mix. So I've caught up to my technician who is doing our pre-rinse on all of this stone. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get ahead of him and start soaking some of these areas ahead of him. It may not be quite as effective, but it's not effective at all for me to sit around twiddling my thumbs waiting for him to get an area ready for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and start applying this stuff, and he'll come back. It's gonna loosen it up and he can knock a lot of it off. So we might have to still go back and treat a little bit after he rinses everything, but either way, I'm trying to be productive and I don't wanna sit around wasting time. And I always want to rinse these metal fences off real well when I'm done. The product can dry on there and leave some white streakiness. And so you can't always notice it before you're getting ready to pack up and leave because it's not totally dry yet. But once it does completely dry, it becomes noticeable. And so I've just made it a good habit to be sure and give those a good once over before we roll up the hoses. Okay, we've got the algae remediation taken care of in the backyard. So now we're headed up front. I'm gonna start taking care of some of these dirt dauber and bird nests, and we're in the home stretch. So just got a little bit more to go. We'll wrap it up for the day. All right, we are just about done. Irvin's taking care of the last couple dirt dauber nests that we've got on the side of the house. And after that, we'll do one more walkthrough just to make sure we didn't miss anything, but I feel good about it. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video. We're gonna have some good before and after photos, kind of give you an idea of what to expect out of performing a job like this for a customer. And do mention to you, drop some comments down below. If you like what you're seeing, if you got any questions on what we're doing, if you got good ideas for a video you might like us to make, we'll do that. So drop it down there in the bottom and we'll get back with you. Do appreciate you guys watching these videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we will let you know whenever we get another video out by hitting the bell. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching with us. Y'all have a great day.